What you're about to see is the only television program ever to receive the award of special merit and the endorsement of the International Association Chiefs of Police.
An American city, modern skylines, civic parks, war memorials, and the buildings that say State Capitol.
This to the world is the face of Hartford, Connecticut, a thriving, bustling community. But like all communities, deeper under the surface is another world. Not nearly as large, not nearly as distinctive, but it too has a face, sometimes referred to as the faceless face of crime. Our story this week is perhaps a case in point. A criminal seen only through the eyes of those who saw him only briefly, and sometimes only in their minds. Jan Proger, who saw the criminal commit murder. Officer Bernard Wood, first to arrive at the scene of the crime. Hartford's police chief, John J. Carrigan, who personally moved into this case. Officer Donald Lindy, whose contact with the killer was through the handbag of his hostage. Officer Joseph Medeiros, whose ceaseless efforts were representative of the manner in which the Hartford police solved the case in almost the length of time in which you will see it. Mrs. Catherine Knowles, who knew the criminal and narrowly escaped being one of his victims. In a moment from Hartford, Connecticut, you will see and hear their story exactly as it happened. Our story starts on June 1st. We're going to begin 2 days earlier. Peter Brackman had an argument with his landlady. Would you tell us the circumstances under which you last saw Peter Brackman?
Well, Peter came in, and I went to the door, and I asked him for his rent. He said, I haven't got any money. Well, I said, then you no longer will stay here, because I said, you have to move. He said, well, I've got to go upstairs, he said. I said, no, you're not going upstairs, because I have the door locked. Well, in the meantime, I pulled him back down a couple steps, and we fell up against the radiator. And I told him he had to move, and he left. On a Monday, I looked in the paper, and when I see he had killed 2 women, I said, oh, heavens, that could have happened to me Friday night when I put him out.
Peter Brackman did not return. Instead, he moved to another boarding house. Again, there was an indication of the violent temper of this man. But this time, he had a gun. Jan Proger was an eyewitness to the events that followed.
Żeby poszedł do domu, bo no to on powiedział, ten Peter powiedział, że...
Jan Proger's native tongue is Polish. So in order to get the details of the story, we asked Detective Stowicki to act as interpreter.
No, on szedł teraz.
Lee, he saw the landlady with a bottle in her hand, and she was threatening him with that bottle. They got him to the door, and he says, good night. What's up, I
No, on nie powiedział, to powiedział, dobrze, ja pójdę, tak.
He says, good, I'm going.
To ja słyszał ten strzał, tak.
When he said that, that's when I heard the shot.
Does he remember any of the other details?
Chodź, za drzwi, wypchnąłem przed sobą za drzwi.
Lee, he saw the woman, he saw the landlady fall. Then he saw the revolver in Peter's hand. And Peter told him, you keep quiet or the same thing will happen to you. Then he saw Peter put this gun to the side of this girl and says, come on. Peter took the girl and pushed her forward. Then he grabbed her by the arm and they just went on down the street.
What did Mr. Proger do after the gunman left the house?
He left the house by the back door and he ran out of the house. When he got to the sidewalk, he started to walk fast.
It was June 1st, approximately 10 p.m. I was walking my beat. He seemed to be having a little difficulty, so I stopped and watched him. He saw me and approached and stated that a woman had been shot on Front Street. We proceeded to the address. On the way down, as was off my beat, I stopped, called in, notified the complaint writers where I was going.
Complaint desk, Officer Kiley. That location? 33 Front Street. Okay, that's 33 Front Street. I'll send some. You go there, I'll send some help right away.
As I entered the front door at the house, the victim was on the floor, on her back, near the door. I checked her pulse. She appeared to be dead.
The captain of detectives, the officers, and I arrived at the scene. We were fortunate to find an eyewitness to this slaying. We learned that the victim was the operator of the rooming house and that her assailant had had an argument with her and another occupant of the house known as Patty. This was our first information. At this time, all we had was a rough description of the assailant and the fact that he had a young girl as hostage at gunpoint with him somewhere in the North End.
To every police officer, a hostage in the hands of a killer means two things. Another life is in danger, and that the killer is willing to go to any extreme to avoid arrest.
Then the witness furnished us with more information, and that was that the assailant worked in a box factory on Village Street. Lieutenant, why don't you call headquarters? Call Hatton at Kankert and check that out, okay?
Thank you.
How many shots did you hear?
One.
One shot. And then where did you go? Did you go out the door?
Captain, I think we have a lead on this murder on Front Street. Would you look in the city directory and find out the owner's name of a box factory on Village Street?
Just a minute, Jack. I'll see what I can find.
Captain Tom Hankard, Hartford Police Department. Lieutenant John Roach, Hartford Police.